Good evening, everybody. I'm just getting on here. Going to give everybody a minute to find me, get it loaded on my computer, and make sure everybody can hear me okay. Hello, Kim. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up in the chat. That would be awesome. Hello, Michelle. Yabba dabba doo. Awesome. Feel like we need to get in our vehicles, Michelle, and do the little running thing like the Flintstones. Okay, perfect, Kim. Hello, Kelly. Just give a minute or two just to see if there's any others popping on. Always takes a minute for everybody to find the feed. How's everybody's Thursday going? It's 7 o'clock where I am in Alberta. Not sure where everybody is tuning in from, other than I do know where Kim is, so I know she's getting closer to bedtime. I just had my second last day of school today. We took the kids for our park day. It poured rain the entire time, so that was good fun. All right. Oh, I know. I don't get the notifications very often either, Kim. So unless I remember that I am like going to go watch a live, I kind of have to just be ready to like find them. And yeah, my school has longer school days, so we get out a little bit early. There's quite a few in my division that still have about a week and a half. Oh, it was a good day in Alaska. Awesome. All right, well, I'm going to start chit-chatting here just about our supplies. And so if there is a few last minute ones that are going to pop on or do find their way to us, then we will not quite have gotten started. So we are here for Throwback Thursday, which is excellent. It is officially my first Throwback Thursday. I have done one live already for the Kraftin Kimmie group for the Canada set, but I'm excited to be here for a Thursday evening crafting. So that's great. And perfect. All right, Kim, great. So we are going to be using the stamp set today, Stone Age Friends, which definitely has that classic TV vibe. And I have played with this a little bit before, and I believe that a card that I did before I've already given away, so I don't even have another sample of a card to show you with this set because it was so cute I had to use it. And we're going to make a shaker card today. So just to go over a couple of the things that you're going to need if you are going to play along and you have this set is the stamp set, and we are going to be using the caveman today, the mammoth, the 2 rocks, and have a Mammoth Day sentiment. I am going to be using my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. I just found the colors that I wanted for today. And so if you have a different medium that you're using, I sort of did a makeshift little palette here. I'm going to be using some kind of cool gray colors for the rocks. For our fellows' clothes, I am going to be using like a kind of greenish color, and I think I'll probably use some of the gray on the dots in his, I don't know, loincloth, is that what we would call it? And I'm going to be using sort of a brown, almost a slight reddish tone for the mammoth, and a little bit of a lighter earthy brown for the club. I'm going to be using sort of a darker tan color for his skin, and I'm going to make his hair kind of a burnt orange color. So those are the colors that I'm going to be using. And I sort of picked those just because of the paper that I picked to use today. We are going to be making a shaker card in a little bit of an unusual size. So I have an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock that I'm going to cut with you guys. And then also we're going to need a couple sheets of pattern paper. I have this sort of green gold marble color and this kind of like earthy brown texture. This is a Simply Stated collection that was also like very Stone Age themed and had dinosaurs and cavemen itself, so it just kind of lent itself to that. And then a few other supplies that we're going to need. I'm going to use like a piece of glassine for my shaker part. You could also use acetate or like a piece of packaging that you're not using, that you're not using anymore. So we're making a flat shaker, so sometimes when I do that, I don't want to use like my really good acetate pieces. Oh, I know, Tamara, I had the game going upstairs, so that's awesome. Yeah, we're not an Oiler house. My dad is like a diehard fan, but he's in a hockey pool and is like winning because he managed to get like a bunch of Oilers and Panther players, so he's excited about that. So yeah, like I'm using this glassine envelope, but you can like definitely sub in for whatever you'd like for your shaker. And then I'm just have some double-sided tape. I'm going to use a die to cut out my window for my shaker. And then I also have some bits from this collection that's like some kind of tiki guys and some like dinosaurs, and this guy is already like a caveman, but I think I'm going to kind of layer and get the rock. So if you have some ephemera pieces on hand, and if you're just watching, then you'll kind of get a sense of what we're making, and then you can kind of pick maybe what you'd like to do after. So just to give you an idea, I don't have a sample of the card we're making with the set. I am like fully making this with you guys, but to give you an idea of what we are doing a flat shaker card in a similar style to this. So we'll have like the window on the front and some embellishments. So we're going to use our little fella and mammoth that we're going to color up on the front of our card. And then it just has the shaker pieces inside the flat bit. And then when you open it, then it's just the inside of your card. And if you kind of look, it lays flat. So it's still a nice way to get a little bit of bling and shaker stuff, but if you're going to mail it, then it's not super thick. So that's going to be super fun for us. So I think what we'll do is let's start with the stamping and coloring, and then we can cut and put everything together because that part comes along pretty good. So I'm just going to slide this off. Oh yeah, and here's my shaker bits that I kind of matched up with the green, which I think will be really cool. So I am going to stamp out my images, but full disclosure, sometimes I'm always nervous that my stamping is going to go like south real fast. And so I did pre-stamp my stamps just so that if something went a little weird or it was, then I knew it was dry. I'll leave this white paper because there was a little bit of a glare. So I'm going to use the Wicked Black Crafty ink from Kraftin Kimmie, and I just pre-cut a piece of smooth paper that goes good with my alcohol markers just to like an A2 size panel, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I like to do that a lot when I'm stamping. I just have a whole bunch of these pre-cut because I find that way they're just kind of ready. So if I want to get stamping, then I'm not like stuck cutting cards, and I just keep it with my my marker cardstock, so I find that that works really well. Now I am using the Wicked Black to stamp, but I did think that the granite gray, stamping in the granite gray for a little bit of a lighter touch could be super cool too. So that might be something you might want to consider trying. I did a virtual like retreat this past weekend, and we did a bit of stamping in like a gray, and then did the coloring, and it was quite nice. I liked it. I'm usually like a black stamp kind of gal. That's just the look I like, but kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, which was nice. So I'm just gonna layer these on, and we'll be fussy cutting, so they don't have to really be super pretty. And we are gonna even fussy cut our sentiment, at least I am. I've kind of been into that lately, because sometimes when I try to like get a straight line, it drives me crazy because I don't. So I am going to put it up at the top, but I'm not going to cut a strip. I'm going to end up kind of cutting around it and making a little like word bubble. I know there's a little bit of a glare, but it won't be as much when we're coloring and working with our paper, I think. I did put an extra light to see if that would help, but the pot light above me here is a little bit glary. And that's just where my craft space is, so I don't think there's much I can do to fix that. But as I said, the paper will be good. Oh, you don't stamp multiple images at one time, eh, Kim? Yeah, if I know that I am going to do a scene like this, because I have the big enough paper, I'm like a lazy crafter sometimes. So I don't like having to peel a whole bunch on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. So, and I also like to color all my images like kind of on the paper and kind of get all my coloring done that way. So it's just kind of how I roll. But yeah, everybody's so different, which is fun to know. All right, let's see how we do here. Now that I've used these stamps a few times, I always find that they get a bit of that like inky residue left on them. And I mean, the Kraftin Kimmie stamps so nice anyway. But once you get that little layer built up, then it's not too bad. I think I missed a few spots, but we'll just do a restamp. So quite a bit by the mammoth. This guy turned out, the rocks are pretty good. Just the one caveman guy is missing his eyeball a little bit here, so we'll get that going. Oh, that's cool, Tamara, that you got the stamp. I think you'll really like it. So cute. Give a little more pressure where I know the pieces didn't stamp as good. Let's see. Not bad. I feel like I'm usually really good at like making sure that my images are, my paper's lined over, so I might have bumped a little. But like I said, because I'm not always the best stamping live, just Murphy's Law, right? You'll stamp it like perfect if you're doing it for yourself. I do have a magic of television moment, so I'll probably just use the ones that I pre-stamped because I know that the ink is dry. But yeah, I don't usually have any trouble stamping, but I don't know, this one looks a little thick, and that mammoth up there just was giving me a bit of grief. But I think sometimes too it's weird when I'm on the live because like I would normally have it like way down here and like really close, and I'm still practicing having my stuff like under the camera, and so it feels a little bit weird. But maybe I just have to be better at moving it closer to myself and then pushing it back for people to see, right? And I'm short, so people who've never met me in real life, I have to move it close to me because like I'm standing right now at my like craft desk, But I'm not even 5 feet. Like, I'm not even 4'10". So I always have to pull things close because I can't lean over and see what I'm doing, you know, farther than like here. Yeah, I don't usually have too much trouble with the stamps being blurry, but like I said, when you're on live, then something like that always happens, which is why I pre-stamped, just in case. I always find too that some of my, like they say that a lot of the inks are supposed to be good with any alcohol marker, but because I'm using a lighter shade for his skin tone tonight, I sometimes have trouble with a bit of bleeding with like my lighter Spectrum Noir tones, and even some of my lighter Copics sometimes. I don't know if I just am too like ambitious with when I use it, but I think sometimes I don't stamp enough ahead, or I don't use a little heat gun to kind of set it, and then sometimes I get a little bit of bleeding, which that drives me crazy, and I just haven't perfected that yet. The geezers in my family, that's awesome. It'll bring like memories back for them tomorrow, right? Oh yeah, they definitely pulls the paper. And if I'm careful, I remember to tuck the paper right close to the corner before I start. But if I forget that, then you can't get it back in the same spot when it pulls up, because those magnets are strong. That is the truth. So, I think I'm going to leave this. I think I'm just going to get a piece of scrap paper. Just because I think it really helps the glare, and I don't want it to come through on my good cardstock. So that way I can do some coloring there. And I think if I pull it down like this, I think everybody can still see, which is great. Blending fluid. Oh, that makes sense, right? Because they're just more juicy, and then they like pull from that other ink a bit. Yeah. And I don't have much trouble with like other colors, or you just don't notice it, except for the thin one, like the lighter ones. So now if we need to zoom in, I think when I did my coloring for the Canada one, I think I might have like used my fingers to zoom in on my camera. So just let me know if you want me to zoom in, but I'll color and then I can just hold it up as I go so that people can see it a little bit closer. Now, I confess, I love coloring. I love following along what people tell me to color, but I am not, oh, this is exactly where the light is gonna go, and let's keep all the darks on the one spot. Like, I am a very mellow colorer, so I'm gonna start with the rocks because that's easy, and I'll look at us going here. God, how much goes over top of the messed up one? Yes. Right? Isn't that always the way it goes? Hi, Sarah. Yep, totally agree, Kim. It's fun. Okay, so I'm going to use these ice grays, and I'm going to start with I have like 2 on my Spectrum Noir sets. I'm going to start with the lightest one on my of my darker sets, and I'm just going to come in and color kind of along the left edge and the bottom. And I'll just a mellow jello colory too. Love it, love it. Yep, I am your fun size friend, Sarah. You are correct. I'm not short, I'm fun sized. I used to have a shirt that said that. So then I'm just gonna go on to my next set that are just like the slightly lighter shades. And I'm just gonna go in and kind of blend out along the edge of where I colored that darker bit and extend my color out a bit more. Maybe curve it up here a bit to get a bit of shadow. And these rocks are small, so I think I can do both at once. And I won't regret my life's decisions. And then I'm just going to take my lightest shade, blend it a little, and do one layer to finish off the lighter edge of the rock. Oh, my markers are a bit squeaky. I don't think I really noticed that when I'm all here by my lonesome. I'm just going to take my one darker and just come in back for just a little bit of shadowing. I think I'm happy with that. There's no real good way to color and not get your hands in the way. Rocks there. All right. So for the mammoth, I am using, like on my Spectrum Noir, it's called the Tan Shades, is the set of 3. And like it's kind of got a little bit of a reddish hint to it. I think when I was kind of figuring out my colors, I felt like I was going for a Snuffleupagus vibe or something, I think. That's what kind of always pops into my head. So I'm going to use my darkest. And I'm just going to go along these left-hand areas. Start. Using my headphone in the other. That's awesome, Tamara. Gotta walk those animals, give them their exercise. Although I agree, sometimes it's like they walk us, right? Who's walking who? I'm gonna do the bottom here. So I'm gonna go along the left and bottom, I've sort of decided. I feel like I gotta go up on the head a little bit here. What kind of dog do you have? What kind is Barry? I'm gonna go to my middle color next. Oh wow, what a mix. The grand puppy, not so much, Deb. Oh, they give you a run for their money, do they? Okay, and then let's see if I add in my lighter color. Yeah, there we go. You always worry when you're coloring. You're like, oh, is it gonna look like I've actually shaded anything? And then all of a sudden you add in that third lightest color and it's like the magic happens. Perry looks more massive. Okay, 110 pounds. Wow. I feel like the dog would be bigger than me. I do weigh more than 110 pounds, but I think in general, I feel like the Barry would be fun size like me. But maybe as a dog, it makes for a little more adventure. Just gonna finish up with one layer and then we'll see where we need to blend. With our pencil marks. Get this little bit of the ear and my last little foot down here. Cute. I think I'm gonna use just the medium and the light for the tail. I should have looked up a mammoth first. Do they have white tusks like elephants? Gray? Tan? Somebody might need to help me out with that. I'm not sure I know that answer. I'm just going to use the lightest gray for the feet. Hooves. Wow, apparently I just needed to... Where's a kid when you need them? They always know all the answers for dinosaurs and mammoths. Like, I don't know, something about that doesn't look quite right. So I might go in with my light brown. Ivory? Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking of. Was like Ice Age. Off-white, the tusks. Yeah, I'm going to go back in and add just this lighter brown over the gray. I like that better. I mean, we're not going for realism here, right? They're cartoony. They can be whatever we want. I always say I'm going to do something really exceptional. Like, I'm going to do purples and, like, rainbow colors. And then I don't. I'm going to go in with the dark for the eyebrow. And just dab the darkest in there. And I think when we do the skin of our caveman, I've got like a light creamy color that I'll go back in and do the tusk. So I think that's good. I like that. I know, right? The purple. I always say any image that are cute like this, I always say, I'm going to do one of those cards where it's like a rainbow color of the same image. And I always fail. I never go back and do that. So maybe I will have to make that a goal for one of my craft alongs. I'm going to do one of those slim lines with all the rainbow colors. All right, let's do our dude here. I love him. So fun. Let's see. I'm such a weird, like, never know where I want to start. Let's start with this clothes. So I'm going to use a shade of green. So this is a yellow-green blend is what it's called for my markers. think one of the cool things I want to try and practice with my coloring, I've been seeing some artists that color for different companies really go for that, like, almost old school coloring vibe. Like, when you use like a dark marker around the outside and then color lighter around, like, on the inside, but they're using alcohol markers for it. So it's like at the very end, they're going back and adding an outline around the outside that makes it like darker all the way around. And I'm like, that's my kind of coloring. And they must do quite a few layers because it looks always quite dark by the time they're done. So I feel like they go over the images twice, and I feel like I'm going to play around with that. And then there's this one artist I always follow, and she adds tons of like speckles and dots after, and the white little reflections, and it looks so cool. Ooh, monochromatic color. That would be cool. Yeah, Kim, the one gal that I follow, her handle's like, I want to say it's popsicle sticks. And she does a lot of like cute pop culture type stamps. And she like makes some of her own designs and sells them, I think. But they're like super expensive from the States. But I don't have any of her designs, but I just see all the stuff. And then she designs for some companies. And then Atkins, he's one of the other ones that has been coloring like this with this outline look. And it just makes me think of like when I tell my kids at school, you know, trying to up their coloring game, and I'm like, use a marker to go around your outside. It's always something new to experiment with, isn't there? New technique, new style. That's what I love. Everybody has their own, right? Because we just do what we love. All right. I think when that dries, we'll have a nice little variety of some dark and light shades, which will be good. And what did I say for the dots on clothes? Like a medium. I think I'm going to go with maybe 2 shades. Just going to use this medium one just on the edge here. And then come in with my lights. Just kind of dab along. And then 1 layer just to finish it off for a bit of shadow. Just make sure everybody lets me know that you can still hear me okay. If I get coloring and I'm leaning over, make sure my voice is still picking up. Okay, so there's our little outfit. I'm going to use an earth brown blend of kind of just earthy tone for the club. So I'm just going to come in on the ends of the club and get a bit of, you know, lighter bits kind of in the center there. You're right, Deb. Finding joy is the key. If we're not doing it because we love it, then we're probably doing it wrong. And it doesn't matter what anybody else does. I always say, you do you. That's like One of my favorite things. Oh my gosh, these are just so cute. There we go. So I've got the club. Okay. I don't know, I think I'm gonna end with the epic hair. I feel like that's gonna tie it all together. So I'm gonna do his body next. Now, when I picked this one, I just felt like cavemen spent a lot of time out in the sun. So I wanted to go for just a slightly more tanned look. So when I first put this layer on, I might scare myself because it's quite dark and almost like an orangier brown color. But I think it will end up blending out nicely. So I'm going for it. Usually I would probably have tried this before. But I have been crazy busy at school, and I don't know, sometimes I figure if you're crafting along with me, then maybe we just need to just be in it together. And if something goes awry, it's only paper. Now, what kind of paper am I using? That is a really great question, Kim. I'm just gonna go look, because I have a few different kinds, and everybody uses different things. I'm just looking. So I think this one is actually Spectrum Noir paper, 100 pound, that I feel like I ordered a while ago from someone, but I also use like the Nina Smooth that I'll like buy from different stores that'll package up like packs, like from Scrap Shots in Calgary I buy a lot from. And I get a lot from like online like retreats I've done with different companies, and then they send a whole bunch of like paper that's good for coloring, and I just keep a stash in my box. So a lot of it actually has come from my Crop and Create boxes, and I just like keep grabbing from the stash, never ending, it feels like sometimes. But this I believe is the Spectrum Noir, and so it's quite lovely. It's very smooth, it's a good weight. And like it bleeds through a little bit, but then I kind of know I've probably got a good paper, because usually when I use something too light, a lot bleeds through. Okay, so now let's see what this blending is going to look like for our fella here. I feel like we should give our fellow a name. What are some good caveman names? Like Jareth or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go back and just add a little bit of dark around the outside of his whole face. I feel like that'll be good for the blending. 70 bucks. Oh, wow. Yeah. And sometimes, like, for a while, it was really hard at the beginning to find things. And I was, like, not sure what exactly you should use when I started. And I was like, oh, like the Spectrum Noir, do I have to use the Spectrum paper? And so I've just sort of picked up a variety along the way. And, like, some of my stuff isn't even in the packages anymore. It's just on, like, a shelf that I have with all my Copic markers that I had bought at a trade fair. It's actually for, like, 8.5 by 11 paper. And it has, like, pull out, the shelves kind of slide out. And I just have like 2 of my little slots there are all the different papers that I use for Copic coloring or alcohol marker coloring. And now I think a whole bunch of them have gotten mixed up. So I'm like, I don't even know necessarily that they're all awesome. So I'm just really using like the 2 colors. Like I said, I felt like I didn't want to go too light for him. That's crazy. Caveman Kyle. Okay, now, okay, so like Caveman. I feel like Kyle's too modern. Feels like preppy or something. So like Caveman Cooper. I don't know, does that seem more caveman-ish? Yeah, the Nina 80 pound. That's what a lot of people use. And I feel like that's what comes in a lot of the kits that I get. And then when I buy it from like some of the stores, I feel it's Nina, that 80 pound. I feel like when I do like skin tones, I get really quiet. I'm like, concentrate as if it's like the only place I'm gonna mess up, which would make no sense. You could mess up anywhere. Again, I'm pretty good at making anything into a beautiful oops, so. Nothing a jewel doesn't fix or something if you gotta just cover something up. Usually. Add a highlight, you know. Oh, I think I missed his thumb. Yeah, the beautiful oops. Oh, I love Neanderthal Nate. That's awesome, Tamara. Definitely a good one. Oh, that's funny, Gim. Yeah, do the skin first. If you mess up, it's quick and easy to restamp and start again. Good call, good call. Okay, I think that's cool. I'm totally happy with that. So while I have this marker out, the lightest color I think is going to be good for our tusks here. So I'm just going to lightly dab. That's cute. Maybe a little more tan, but I love it. He's adorable. The eyes. Glog or Bork. Yeah, probably. That is probably true. Okay. Now I'm going to use some burnt orange for his hair. Seemed kind of like a fun thing to do. Now hair is the one thing that like, I definitely like my cartoon style, because try to get me to add in wispy strokes. Like, I've watched tutorials. I think I've decided it's not my jam. So I just go around the outside and usually work towards just a bit of lighter highlights in the center, and I am good to go. That's how I roll. Full disclosure, Tamara, I have actually never seen the Croods. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and sometimes I see a lot of movies that make sense without kids, but being a teacher, but then, like, the number of random movies I have not seen. Like, I was just telling my kiddos at school today that I still have not seen Frozen 2. Like, I'm not legitimately sure how that has happened or is possible. I have this tendency to, like, not finish things, like, not watch if there's a second or third. I get so far behind. But the Croods, I feel like that one would be hilarious. And I just never got around to watching it. Okay, now I'm coming in with my lighter mid-orange. So we'll bring out these tones. Wow, these ones are really squeaky. Hope y'all don't mind, like, a little, you know, scratching on the chalkboard sound. Things you don't realize when you're just alone in your craft room. I know, Kim, I shouldn't admit these things. However, I am super stoked for the Broadway version of Frozen that is going to be released on Disney Plus coming up here in a week or so. Your daughter stole all your Copics. Then I'm just going to come in with my lightest, do just a little quick blend, and then do a one layer. And I didn't want to do the beard at the same time because I was worried I wouldn't work fast enough with my blend, so. National Cool. There's like a national day for everything, isn't there? Oh my gosh, I think that's super cute. I love it. Oh my gosh. So now we'll do his eyebrows and his beard, and then we'll put our card together. I do color in a circular motion a lot, Michelle. I find especially with these, I am still learning with my Copics. I have the like brush tips, and if I was ambitious enough, I think I would like to start changing them to like these nibs. I love these like nib style on my Spectrum Noir. But even with my Copic, I find I do like little circles. I know lots like brush out, but I don't know, maybe it's back to my good old coloring days of mom teaching me to color in circles with my wax crayons to fill in the white spaces or something. An Irish caveman. I must have been channeling my love of beer when I was planning this out. Now it is all making sense. Tamara, you have helped me realize my thought process when I wasn't even thinking about it. Feel like the eyebrows, I'm just gonna dab a little bit in the corners, I feel. Oh, that's awesome, Kim. So your husband has more reddish hair. My dad had really red hair when he was young, but then it darkened up, and now there's a lot more gray in it too. I feel like I am gonna go around the outside. I really liked how that looked on the hair. And your son has the Irish hair, Tamara. Nice. I have a family of kiddos I teach, and they all have varying shades of this color, and they're all gorgeous colors. Although the one older boy hasn't learned to embrace it yet. Sometimes. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, so that's interesting, Kim, that you say that, because like my dad's hair darkened too, but his beard stayed more red and lighter for longer as well. So it must be something with like the facial hair. Hey? Oh, what's happening in the hockey alley? I have so many friends of mine that are fans of the Oilers. I watch hockey at playoffs, but I'm not sure that I necessarily have a team, but sort of been rooting for them. But that last game was super stressful with all the crazy penalties and fights, and I found it to be the most awful game of hockey I think I've ever watched personally, but I'm sure huge hockey fans might disagree with that, as I'm just a casual viewer, but I wonder how today's is going up there since I've come downstairs. Okay, let's finish his little eyebrows. Yeah, sometimes, Kim, like, I like some sports. Like, I love watching curling. Actually, that's, like, my favorite to watch. And then Dad watches so many sports that I seem to be able to throw out sports terms and sports names enough to keep me sounding like I know what I'm talking about. But, oh, okay, Tamara, we're revving up over there with the game. But, yeah, I'm usually one of those people who, you know, something will happen with the sports, and I'll be the one, like, who should have the hoodie that just says, yay, sports, like, kind of sarcastically, because I don't know that I follow it enough. Ooh, reading. I just started The Amalfi Curse, which is a brand new one by Sarah Penner, who wrote The Lost Apothecary, and it seems pretty good. And I started listening to the new Taylor Jenkins Reid, is that her name? Atmosphere on audio, and I am hooked. Like, I just want to keep listening. Oh, my foot fell asleep as I stood up, you guys. So that is what I'm reading. What is everybody else reading? Oh, I don't know how I was sitting, guys. I stood up and, oh, my foot had totally fallen asleep. Oh, I hate that. Okay, my mammoth day, I had wrote a note for myself. What was I going to do? Oh, I was going to use the tan shades. The same that I used for the mammoth. I'm just gonna dot it in. Nothing fancy. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. I think the card will go together relatively decently. I have made one of these styles of cards before for a demo. Just not with the inking image, so. Till Summer to Whisper. Oh, and Megan Quinn. I wanted to read that Grinch one over Christmas, and it was one of the holiday ones I did not get to. So I think I will have to start with that one next year. But I've heard that she is quite the funny author. I think with some spice too, if I'm not mistaken, with her, but which is fine. But I haven't read any of hers yet. That Grinch one was going to be my favorite. Okay, let's build the card, and then I'm going to come and fussy cut this after, so then we can talk a little bit about the card. So for the card that I'm going to have us make today, we are going to make this size that I have in purple. So I'm going to hold these kind of next to each other, of the ones that I have that are kind of like my samples. And this one, that's sort of the travel one, is an A2, so the typical kind of like card size. So you can see that the one we're going to make is a little bit bigger. So that's why in the supplies, if anybody was playing around, going to play along, I didn't want you to cut ahead of time. So we are going to cut our paper. So I just have a nice heavy cardstock that I can use for my base. And we are going to cut our card. I don't usually cut on camera, so that's kind of, got to get used to that. We are going to cut our card to 6 1/4 by 8 1/2. So it's already, of course, 8 1/2. Okay, so then I got to make sure I think this through. Make sure I do it right on screen. Okay, so 8 1/2 by 6 1/4. So 8 1/2 by 6 1/4. I do actually have some measurements. I don't know if I put them there. People can see them. Might be able to zoom in, but I will go over them. So 6 1/4 by 8 1/2. Okay, and while we are cutting, we're going to cut 2 other pieces. So you're going to end up having a top layer, and then underneath the glassine, which you don't really see, but so that it's not stark white, I have a different colored pattern piece underneath, and it just, I think, helps us build our shaker card a little bit easier. So I'm calling the one that we don't see a lot of the under layer. So it's just a 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 panel. So it's 4 1/4 wide. And I don't always cut my whole piece, but for today I am. By 6 1/4 lengthwise. So then you'll have a panel there. And then for the top layer, I'm going to use this greeny gold today. So let's see. Okay, so the banter. I love some good banter in a book, Kim. Yeah. I so appreciate the book group that you have too. It's so fun to see what everybody's reading. I still just love that. So, what do I like? Just testing it out. I think I'm going to use this corner here. So I'm going to go 4 1/4 this. And then depending on what kind of trimmer you have, I'm just gonna go 6 1/4 down on my trimmer. So that instead of cutting all the way through, so I still have some good chunks of paper. Go down. So now I've got my top piece panel. So as long as I measured right, those two pieces are essentially the same size. Just one's going to get hidden underneath. Okay, so that is our cutting. And then for scoring, spread out my little board so I can do it on camera for you guys. Yeah, Ellie, I think you came in a little bit later. Hey, this is very cool paper. It's from a Stone Age collection from Simply Stated Design, which also came with some cool like cavemen embellishments and dinosaurs and stuff. So really good for like boys, kids, or anything really. I used it for some Yellowstone pictures, which was really fun. Oh my gosh, good thing I'm not paying attention. Multitasking. Okay, so here's our panel that we cut that was 8 1/2 by 6 1/4. So we're gonna put it in the 8 1/2 long. So then we are gonna score at 4 1/4. And so the width of our card is the same as an A2, but it's just longer than your typical A2. And fold it in half. Give it a good score. So there's our base. Now, I will say, I use a lot of Simply Stated paper, and it is white on the other side. So quite often if I'm doing something like this and I'm going to make a card base, I will use the paper just that I want to use as my card base. But for the sake of our shaker card, it was going to be easier to have this extra panel just to get it all put together. But if you have double-sided paper, that's always something kind of fun you can do, is use your double-sided and then have like a lighter shade on the inside, which I like to do sometimes as well, because then you kind of have a little excitement on the inside without even trying. Okay, so we've got our card base, we've got our stamped images. Now we're just going to do a little bit of die cutting. So this is going to end up being an underlayer, so we do not have to do anything with this one. So it's our top layer, what you're going to see the most of, that you want to cut a window into. It really can be any shape. So I picked this scalloped rectangle. I think this one is from a honeybee set, and mine is about, it's about 3-ish inches across by maybe about 4 1/4. So it just gives a nice good size window that we'll still be able to layer up our images, but see some shaker. And because our images are a little bit bigger, like I know I'm going to layer them in the corner. I think when I die cut, I am going to put my window like not quite in the center. I'm going to kind of move it up closer to the top. And have it kind of even on the sides. And because we're going to see a lot of the green in his outfit, I'm going to cut it so that this sort of goldeny brown part is more at the bottom, so that his green will still show up. So I'm just going to go like 2 steps behind me to my die cut machine, because I have a big shot, so I did not want to pull that over onto the counter. And I'm just going to die cut this. If you are the type that wants to put a little bit of tape down, go for it. I'm usually too lazy, fully honest about that. So I just usually put it on. go. Actually, I'm gonna bring my scrap piece of paper back to get rid of that glare again. Sorry, guys. So I've got my window cut out, and then you could always use this on the inside or save it for another card. So now we've got our window, and I can see I wasn't perfect from side to side, but the way we get it layered up, I actually think that'll look cool because some of our image guy is going to be over here. So I think that'll be just fine. So now we're going to build our layers for our card. So you're going to take your top piece, you're going to flip it upside down. And then I am using, for anybody who came in late, I'm using a piece of glassine. It's like a glassine envelope that I had gotten ephemera in. So I am just going to slice this apart on the sides so that I get a window that is 4x6. So it's just like slightly smaller. Awesome, Sarah. Thanks for stopping by. Not sure if you're back at home or in your second home. So wherever you are, good luck with some of your wrap-up stuff. So I'm just going to stick my glassine envelope just in my trimmer and just trim off like about 1/8 of an inch on each side just to pull it apart. But if you are using acetate or a piece of wrapper, I would recommend cutting it to 4x6 and you should be good to go. So I've got this piece, yep, and I've layered it on top, and so it's just gonna go all the way around like that. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to attach my glassine to this back piece, and I'm gonna use double-sided tape because I find when you use the glassine and acetate for that matter, and you try to use glue, it works, but I find like gushes out more, right? And then it seeps off the edge, and then I'm always mad. So this isn't closing up our shaker or anything. So at this stage, like, it doesn't have to be super fancy. You are literally just attaching the glassine to this side, or acetate, or recycled packaging. Woo! This set is on sale, Kim says. Still, I wasn't sure if it stayed on sale for just leading up to tonight, so that's awesome to know, Kim. Thanks for sharing that. You did a monochromatic cave do tomorrow. Okay, I am super excited to see. I think that will be fun. Okay, so I am just sticking this on, and it's a little bit like out on the outside, but it's all gonna get stuck in with another layer, so it's okay that some of our tape is showing on the outside. We're gonna be a little bit more careful on the next step where we're gonna put our piece on. So this is a flat shaker, again, for anybody who came in a little bit late, so it's not built up with foam. So what we're going to do now that we've got this glassine envelope layer on, and I'll flip it over just so that you can kind of see that it is there, that we've got this. And I don't know, I just kind of like that it's not so clear. So yeah, like acetate is cool. I have not tried it with vellum. Like you might have a light color of vellum that this would work for. Oh yeah, is it the like the melty one, like the roller fuse tool, Tamara, that you got? I have one somewhere now that you said that. Where is mine? I should play around with that more. I got it when I did pocket pages. I was going to make shaker bits in some of my pocket pages. Okay, so for this next step, I want my shaker to be really like in the window. We don't want to lose a lot of our pieces like way down into our card, especially because we're going to be layering our guys. And so I am going to put my next layer of craft foam, or not craft foam, sorry, not craft foam, of double-sided tape right close to the edge of my window. And then with this one, you don't want to lose your shaker bits out of your card, even though we're going to glue. Just so I would try to make sure that your tape is forming a window. And then the pieces, of course, might end up like sticking a little bit to the edge. But I find with the flat shaker, they stay in place like a lot more than like a shaker window one where you've built it up with foam. And that's kind of one of the things I like. Yeah, the fuse tool. Gosh, where is mine? Sometimes that's what I love about these things. We all remind each other of like things that we have. I'm just lifting up the corners so that I can get like these windows without completely unsticking my double-sided. Just at this point, because it makes the shaker go a little bit easier. Okay, so I've got my double-sided tape all the way around my window. And then we need to be like a little bit brave for this next part, because we're going to like put in our shaker bits, take off our tape. I'm going to add just a little bit of glue just because I want my back piece to stick. And then this is the part where, I mean, the world won't end if you end up messing up and putting it on the wrong way, but it'll be white. So you want to make sure that what I'm calling this underlayer piece, which is another 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, we want to see a bit of that like shade as opposed to white. Just darkens it all up through our window. So when you go to stick it on, make sure you put your pattern side down so it's going to shine through your window. So I've got greeny mix left over from some kind of kit I got. Now with this one, I know a lot of times when I do shakers with 3D foam, I will dab the inside of my foam with like a powder tool, and then I will pull off my pieces, and then I'll put in my shaker bits. So I don't bump my shaker bits, I am going to pull off my double-sided tape pieces, maybe. Just turn it, Lindsay. I never got that one stuck down. There we go. And then try not to stick it, my own sleeve to it. I've done that a number of times when I'm crafting. If I ever do a live with it, I will be here. I even bought the rubber mat to go with it. Yeah, I feel like I have the rubber mat too. Oh my gosh. I'd have to practice, but I wouldn't say a live with it is an impossibility. Okay, so now when you go to stick down your bits, just try to center it. Ooh, not do what I do, where one just went flying across to stick to our tape, because then you know it's not gonna stick together. I find I like the glassine, because you know how like when you use acetate, it's so staticky. I don't know, I find like the glassine envelopes, I can move it around a bit with my finger, just because I know it's gonna stay flat. And it doesn't like fly everywhere. And I don't know, I'm gonna be generous. Like, I don't wanna skimp out on my shaker bits. Just trying to look at, guess how many, like how much I put in. I feel like I put in quite a lot in this one I did. So what the heck, I'm gonna add in just a little bit more. Why not? Might as well make it worth it, right guys? Okay, got a teeny bit left I can mix in with something else. Okay, now be careful not to bump yourself here. I am just gonna take a little bit of my craft glue. Hopefully it's not clogged. I am a no pin girl, so sometimes I just need to use a pin that I keep on hand. And I am just gonna add, keeping my sleeve up, little layer around my outside to seal this up. Okay, moment of truth. Can I do this on screen and stay straight? Scary. Okay. Gonna line up my edge here. Push down. Try and press down to seal that tape and my glue. This is like the scary part. It's like, did I get it sealed? I think so. Woo! Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I have like a little bit of an edge here, but I think that'll be fine. I'm just gonna sand away some of these little flyaways here. I could try and trim that, but it's so subtle and it all matches, so the fact that that little bit of brown is hanging off the edge, I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so as you can see, this is why I like to do it like this, because if you were trying to have a pattern paper already on your card and sticking your whole card on, like it's a lot more flimsy and hard to see. So just by building this panel, now we're just going to be able to attach this panel right to our card. So while I have my adhesive out, I think I'm going to do that. And then we just need to fussy cut and put our little bits on our cool dude. What did we decide? Neanderthal Nate. Ooh, Glark Glug. We have lots of cool names. Good, again, I gotta turn this so I can see. Good crease. It is a kind of a fun way to do a shaker, hey Michelle? I just love that it's like, still gives all the pizzazz, but I actually also like that they sort of stay in place better. Like sometimes when it's a window, then they just all fall to the bottom, or you get that one random one that like sticks up sideways and like never moves for the rest of its life. I just really like this. Okay, so we've got our pieces here that we colored. So I'm just gonna cut around them so I can just do some fussy cutting. Does anybody that's on here use like a scan and cut or other cutter to cut out their Kraftin Kimmie stamps instead of fussy cutting? Just curious. I don't have a machine that does that, and I've never tried. Known anybody to try actually necessarily personally that I haven't maybe seen talk about it in a video or a live. So I like to leave, oh, you do use the scan and cut. Okay, that's awesome. I know Sarah, my friend Sarah who was on earlier, she has a scan and cut, and I know she uses it for a lot of different stamps, but I don't know that I've ever actually talked to her if she uses it for her Kraftin Kimmie, so that's awesome. I have a Cricut, but I don't know. Stamped up a page of images and cut them all at once. Yeah, that's what she does too. Can you use other machines? Like, is that something I could do on my Cricut, like with the program? Or no? Like, I don't really know much about that. I fight with my Cricut, so pretty much it's a decoration in my craft room because I don't use it enough, and then when I try to use it, then something goes wrong or weird, and then I get mad, so then I just let it sit there collecting dust. Silhouette does it. Don't think the Cricut does. Yeah, I feel like a lot more people would talk about their Cricut doing it if it did. I feel like that's true. You're a fussy cutter. Yeah, I know, Tamara. And not only afford, but like have the room, right? And the one thing I honestly love about Kraftin Kimmie stamps is they're so fussy cuttable. Like they're not hard to fussy cut. Like very rarely do I come across one that, you know, has terrible little itty bitty pieces that you're trying to cut away. And I just keep it loosey-goosey. Like, I like the white border because then I feel it's more forgiving. But I wobble my scissors a lot. So, like, that way if there's a part that's a little skinnier, a little wider, it happens in a lot of places. So then it doesn't look abnormal. So then I just think it works. Like around these toes, I just do a little wobble. It's exactly the sound I make when I do it every time. And I don't know, there's lots of people that like fussy cutting isn't their thing, but I don't mind it at all. I mean, the best thing I ever learned was when people started to tell me, like, don't move your scissors, move your paper. And once I kind of learned that, then I just, you know, you reopen your scissors when you need to, and I just rest my cutting hand kind of on my desk area, and it hardly does a thing. It's my left hand that's doing all the turning. And then another tip that I do, like now, like I left that little piece under his arm, and then I'll come back in after I've cut away the other pieces. Because then I can kind of come in on one side, and then I can kind of come in on the other where it meets at that point, and then just pull that piece away. And I find that that works really well. There's my rock. There we go. Almost there. I might add in some white highlights once I get the card put together on these images, but I kind of like how my coloring ended up, so I don't know that I even want to add in any of the highlights. I don't always add white highlights, just sometimes when I feel it needs a little extra zhuzh. I feel like this tail piece could be a little interesting, so I'm just gonna skip that inner piece for right now and go back to it at the very end. Ink your stamp. Don't stamp your ink. Yes. That is a great piece of advice too, Kim. When we get these nuggets, they just stick with us, right? Those like aha moments. I had an aha moment at the Great Canadian Creative Scrapbooker Carnival in Calgary. I was taking like a class with this gal named Doreen. She's lovely. And we were tying a bow onto our tag with some like string. And she was commenting like, hey, you know, when you tie a bow and the strands or that one loop like never goes where you want it to. And she's like, the best trick I ever learned was to tie my bow upside down. And I was like, what? And so she showed us all, and she turned her tag upside down, tied her bow, turned it back around, and her bow was sitting like perfectly flat. And my mind was blown. I had never seen that trick before. And I'm like, where has this been all my life? Oh my gosh. This tail does make me slightly nervous. I really don't want to chop off our cutie's little tail here. Oh my gosh. Did I get it? Oh, that was a little sneaky. Yeah, I will show you that, Kim, sometime. It was magical. It was a magical moment in my crafting life. And I've been doing this a long time, so I love those moments. Okay, oh my gosh. Look at our cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I knew kind of how I was going to do this when I got started. So I'll kind of lay it out like that. I am actually going to use my rocks for a little sneaky inside bit that I'm going to show you guys at the very end. Because I like to put little things sometimes in my inside. And then for the sentiment, I am going to just do kind of like just a kind of wobbly bubble, go in a little bit more. Where the letters do. I'm kind of into this lately because I get a lot of word phrases like this from like collections, and I always like it. And then I thought, well, why don't I just do that more with my own stamps? Because then when you're crooked, then you're always mad at yourself because you cut it crooked and have to stamp it again. So I don't know, I just think that that's kind of a fun little way to do it. So I'm just gonna get some foam dots here because I like to add a little layer. And I had some fun little bits here from this collection. So I felt like in my head, I was gonna layer this guy where this caveman was, just to give a little like background. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll stick a bit of glue kind of on the bottom part of my image because sometimes you want a bit of like depth or height and dimension, but you don't want it all to be popped up. So I've glued on the bottom, and then once I get this piece stuck on, then I can stick a foam dot kind of underneath the club and his head, so he'll be sticking up a little bit. So that's what I want to do there. And then I got a few extra pieces, but I don't think I'm going to use that one. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to use the dino or not, because I thought he could have been kind of cute up top, but it might be a bit much, because I don't know that I love that window. So I think I'm going to change my mind. And I feel like we need just a little something something. Maybe put like this tiki guy. And then, even though we aren't going to see the tiki guy, but it sort of adds a bit of greenery. I like that. Yeah, I might add the dino inside too. That's a good idea, Kim. I'm gonna try a couple things, or save it for the envelope maybe. That would be cute. Okay, so I am going to put some glue on this guy. And I know I want to put where I want to put my sentiment. So I haven't attached this guy yet. So I do this a lot when I'm layering, and then I can kind of get a sense of where I want things before I go totally crazy. Push that down maybe a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna stick the rock part flat. But I'm not gonna stick down this edge just because I know I'm gonna tuck my mammoth in underneath there. I like that little touch of gold. Kind of grounds him, I think, a little bit. So same thing. I'm just continuing to add that little bit of glue more down toward the bottom. Gonna add a little on his tail. So worried about cutting off his tail, and then I think I'm ending up hiding his tail anyway, but that's okay. Oh, you're gonna see me. No, I don't think we're gonna see it popping out, but that's okay. Perfect. I'm liking it. I'm gonna see if they don't want to stop. Oh my gosh, it's only 8:30. That's okay. You go to bed. I'm almost done, Kim, so you can catch the very finishing touch. And of course, I'll take a picture. I'll pop it in the group, and then I'll upload the video and all the things. Way to go for staying up so late on your account. I didn't know I would quite go this long, but that's all right. I'm gonna pop up my sentiment the whole way. Gonna just cut a few of these in half. Awesome, Kim. Thanks so much. Okay, and then when I stick my pieces underneath, I will often take the sticky off both sides, so then I can just stick my finger underneath and like it's already stuck, like sticks on both sides. So I'll peel it off, stick it under. You don't need a lot. I'm one of those ones who Definitely does not go crazy with my foam dots. Some people, I always say there's two teams, right? The ones that like cover everything, or just put a few in. And I think this gives a little dimension here, but I don't think I need to stick a foam dot underneath it. I'm your enabler, Tamara. You just now want to buy all the things, right? Love it, love it. So I'm going to take this, and like I had planned out this part in my head ahead of time. Oh, I like that little bit of gold. I don't want to hide. Oh, I think this will fit kind of right there. It's going to hide his toes a little bit, but let's see. Like, I kind of like how this little, the TH kind of nestles in. And then actually I do kind of like that his toes are kind of peeking out under there. Hi, Karen. Popping in to say hello. Thanks so much. It is kind of cute, hey? Okay. So there's our shaker. We got our guys at the bottom. And I think because on my, like this sample, I put the butterfly up here. That's what had given me the idea. Like I thought maybe I'd want to put the dino, but he does not match. But one of my other samples, like it did not have anything up there. So I think the shaker kind of does its thing. And so then on the inside, if you just have the rocks, they could just go, you know, kind of layered just for a little added touch. But I had this super cute ephemera piece that was another mammoth, and I just thought I could not resist putting this in. So I'm going to put him in. He's a little buddy to our guy. Maybe it's like the dad or the mom or something to our little guy. I'm way too excited about this mammoth, clearly. And then I'm just going to layer my rocks on top of him in one spot. So it's a nice little way to mix like ephemera pieces you have with your stamped images, which also then ends up making it feel way more versatile for other projects. I don't know if anybody here is going to be doing the retreat next weekend, the Kraftin Kimmie spring retreat, but I'm going to be doing like a little mini folio, so it kind of blends a bit of a mini album-ish feel with the stamps. And I love when you can like play around with it. See, I feel like that. I kind of like it over here. And then kind of like it's that little bushes behind. Yeah, I like that. That's super cute. So when I get something in a place I like, I will quite often like kind of stick my finger. This is a pretty little one to do it, but I'm double jointed too, so maybe that makes a difference, but I kind of like stick my finger in the one spot and keep it in place, and then just dab my glue underneath, because then I don't have to try and get it back into the place that I liked it, and then you pull it up and then you go to stick back down, and it's never like you had it before, right? Oh my gosh. Super happy, you guys. It's always a little scary. Like I said, I didn't do a complete sample because I didn't have enough stuff to make a complete sample. That was also part of it. So now we've got our guy with our two little rocks. Gives a neat little cartoony feel. And then our cave guy, mammoth shaker with just a little bit of dimension, just to give it enough, you know, texture and excitement, but totally would, I'm pretty sure, like 99.9% sure that that would fit in the mail with like no extra for, you know, getting stuck. So there is our shaker. Thanks for sticking around this long. Like I said, the coloring took longer than I thought. So this was my first time, other than my Canadian journal, really like coloring a bigger piece. So this gives me a good kind of time frame for like future lives that I'm going to do, just how long my coloring will take. because I've not done a lot of lives with coloring. Really, the Kraftin Kimmie ones are my first ones where I've done demos that have coloring involved. So probably will get faster as well. But I'm always like, you know, some people would say that they want to have like a sloppy copy. I don't have time for that. So I'm like, I'm going to take my time and get a card that I'm happy with, that I'm not going to have to redo, because it's awesome just the way it is. So love that you guys came and hung out. Make sure you check out the Kraftin Kimmie site, because as Kim mentioned, this Stone Age Friends set is 40% off right now. So that is a great way to get this stamp. Great little deal. And have fun playing, mixing your stash. Get your paper collections. Like I used this paper and the little ephemera bits that I just had left over. So thanks for coming, Michelle and Deb and Tamara. I hope some of you are able to play along at some point. And if you do, make sure you post in the group and tag me so that I can see. And I will end up in the next few days. School ends tomorrow for me, so I will work this weekend, and I'll get this video up on the YouTube channel, the Kraftin Kimmie YouTube channel. So if you're not following that, make sure that you do and follow along and check out all the videos that we've been loading there. And we're looking forward to seeing a whole bunch of you continually in this group and as part of Kraftin Kimmie. So thanks so much. I'll just linger here for just a minute in case there's any last minute questions. And otherwise, we will call it a night. Okay. Awesome, everyone. See you next time.